Good morning. This is Dan Larson, and this is today's Quiet Echo. There is a particular kind of silence I have come to know well in this work of mine. It falls over a room whenever a hard thing needs doing, and everyone gathered there understands, without a word, it is going to cost whoever finally takes it. Somebody has to go and sit up the whole night with a man who is frightened and dying. Somebody has to drive the 4 hours out to a family in real trouble. Somebody has to take on the job nobody in the room wants. And the silence just sits there among us. And it is not an unkind silence, you understand. It is only a human one, because every last one of us is sitting there, quietly, hoping it turns out to be somebody else. Well, this week, I watched the silence break the way it sometimes will. A quiet fellow, and not at all the one you would have expected, spoke up and said just two small words. I will go. And then he got up and he went. And I have been thinking about the man all day today. Because today, the 14th of August, is the day another man, standing in the very worst place human beings have ever built with their own hands, said those same two words and meant them all the way down to the bottom of his soul. His name was Maximilian Kolbe. Back in 1941, he was a prisoner inside Auschwitz. A Franciscan priest from Poland, just one more number among the hundreds of thousands. And one summer day a man escaped from his block, so the guards settled on their punishment. They would take 10 men from the same block, and they would starve every one of them to death, so the rest would learn the lesson. The 10 were chosen. And one of them, a soldier by the name of Franciszek Gajuniczek, cried out, because he had a wife, and he had children, and he did not want to die. And Maximilian Kolbe stepped out of the line. Now he was no soldier himself. He was a small, sickly man in a pair of glasses. But he walked himself right out of the ranks of the living, and he asked the commandant to let him take the stranger's place. And the commandant, for reasons no living soul will ever fully understand, said yes. And so Kolbe walked into the starvation cell in another man's stead, and he spent the last 2 weeks of his life down there, keeping the others company, praying with them and singing with them, as they died, one by one. And when the guards grew impatient with how long he was taking to go, they killed him. It was the 14th day of August, but the man he saved lived. Franciszek Gajuniczek walked back out of the war, and he went on to live another 50 years. I could only thank him with my eyes, he said once, remembering the moment. He carried all of his long life the strange and heavy weight of being the one who got to live. And I want to sit with the weight of it for a moment, because I think it is ours too. Imagine it. A stranger gives his life so you might keep yours. What on earth do you do with a gift like it? You cannot ever pay it back. The man is gone. There is no repaying him. And I believe Gajuniczek understood the only answer there is. You cannot pay a gift like it back. You can only pay it forward, and you can spend the rest of your days trying to be worth it. He told the story to anyone who would sit still and listen. For 50 years, it was his answer. And here is the quiet thing I would ask you to consider. Every one of us is, in some smaller way, a person somebody else once stepped out of a line for. A parent, a stranger, someone who went without so we would not have to. We are all, every one of us, living on somebody's gift. So here is the quiet question I simply cannot put down. Where does a thing like it come from in a person? Because I do not believe for 1 minute it just appears, whole and finished, in the worst hour of a man's life. No, I believe Maximilian Kolbe was able to step out of the line in 1941 because he had already been stepping out of 1,000 smaller lines. His whole life long, in 1,000 ordinary little moments nobody ever wrote down, until the stepping forward was simply and completely who he was. We do not rise to the great occasion, friends. We sink in the end to the level of what we have practiced. The saint is not made down in the bunker. He is made in the 10,000 small and unwatched times a person quietly says, I will go. Now I am a Latter-day Saint, and Maximilian Kolbe was a Catholic priest, and I will tell you, I do not care one single bit about the distance between those two things this morning. He is my brother. What he did is the very highest thing a person can do, and it belongs to all of us, no matter what name we happen to pray in. Almost none of us will ever be asked what he was asked. It was never the point. The point is the silence I began with, the one settling over a room when a hard thing needs doing. You are going to meet it this very week. A shift, a shoal, a frightened person, some small job sure to cost you a little something. And in the ordinary little silence, you will get to decide all over again just what kind of person you are slowly becoming. So step out of the line, say the two words. You will almost never be asked to die. You will only ever be asked to be a little less comfortable so somebody else can be a little less afraid. It is the practice. And you do it enough, and one day it becomes you. The front porch is open. Who is someone you watched quietly step out of the line for another person? Come and tell us. And if we get something wrong, tell us, and we will run the correction. The readers of the Cedar Valley News are gathering to share their stories and keep company with respect and no party lines. Come sit with us. I will put the link in the show notes. This is Dan Larson, your host for today's Quiet Echo. Thanks for listening. Quiet Echo is part of the fictional Cedar Valley News series, written by Evan Swenson, publisher, and Claude Marshall, AI developmental editor. While the town of Cedar Valley is fictional, Maximilian Kolbe was real. A Polish Franciscan priest imprisoned at the German concentration camp of Auschwitz, he volunteered in late July of 1941 to take the place of another prisoner, Franciszek Junicek, a husband and father chosen to be starved to death in reprisal for an escape. Kolbe died in the starvation cell on August 14, 1941. Junicek survived the war and lived to the age of 93, dying in 1995. He attended Kolbe's canonization by Pope John Paul II in 1982, at which Kolbe was declared a martyr of charity. His feast day is August 14th. Sources include the Auschwitz-Birkenau Memorial and Museum.
You've been listening to the Cedar Valley News Podcast, where small-town voices meet the headlines shaping our world. From faith and family to front porches and fields. We'll be back with more stories connecting real lives to real events. Until next time, keep your porch light on, your faith strong, and your heart open. This is Cedar Valley News.